from the studios of Clean Fuels Alliance America, this is the Better, Cleaner, Now podcast. Authentic conversations with leaders in the biodiesel, renewable diesel, and sustainable aviation fuel industries. Now, here's your host, Scott Tremaine.
And welcome. Today, Clean Fuels Director of Outreach and Development, Tom Verry, sits down with Adam Kask, Executive Director with the Wisconsin Soybean Marketing Board, to discuss energy security, crush capacity, and climate-smart agriculture.
Thanks, Scott. Adam Kask, it's great to have you with us this week, and thanks for taking the time to join me today.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. I appreciate it. Glad to be here.
Well, you've been part of our family, Clean Fuels, biodiesel families. Seems like forever, but we were talking earlier, since 2014, 2015, so it's been great. The market was 2 billion gallons, now it's 4.6, so we were waiting for you.
I'll just take all the credit for that. So.
Absolutely. But thanks for being with us today, Adam. One of the, why we wanted you on this is after Memorial Day, and a very important holiday or a day of commemoration for our military members that gave a lot for this country. And you belong to the Minnesota Army National Guard and went active with U.S. Army.
Yep.
Was deployed over in Iraq. Mm-hmm. So thank you for your service, Adam.
Yeah, I really appreciate it, Tom. We were, when I was deployed, that would have been February 2009 to February 2010.
Wow. A year in Iraq. Sounds like a really long time to be a place like Iraq.
Yeah, it was, it actually, we were talking earlier, it went surprisingly fast. Obviously they kept us pretty busy over there, so it's amazing how quick that year can fly by.
Well, good to hear that. And I think you probably have a little bit of different perspective than the rest of us that we're not in the military, especially regard to energy security.
Yeah. When we were deployed, our unit was actually headquartered in southern Kuwait. I was in a transportation unit, and that's where just all the big seaports in Kuwait, obviously kind of on that southern coast. So we would get a mission to pick up supplies or whatever needed to move up north into our big bases in Iraq. Along that stretch heading north, we would drive right past those Kuwaiti oil refineries, their oil fields, all of that. So I got to see that just right up close and personal.
Wow. We need less oil drilling in Kuwait and more biodiesel, renewable diesel here in the United States. And I think, as we mentioned, we have increased. I think we did the numbers when you first deployed to Iraq. We had a 100 million gallon market in the United States.
Yeah, back when it was just kind of a little niche specialty market.
Yeah, it was, at that time we had Willie Nelson and, it was still a very diverse stakeholders, but, we had the West Coast producers and Midwest producers and all kinds of viewpoints in between. So it was a very interesting time. So 100 million gallons to 4.6 billion gallon now. So what do you do now for? What's your position now? What do you do?
Sure, Tom. Yeah. So I am the executive director for the Wisconsin Soybean Marketing Board, so the checkoff board in Wisconsin right now.
Fantastic. And the Wisconsin Soybean Marketing Board is a very important member of Clean Fuels and supports our programs. We appreciate it very much. Before that, you're at South Dakota Soybean leading the biodiesel and other marketing efforts, and that's where we first got to know you through the South Dakota Soybean Promotion Board. Is that correct?
It's the South Dakota Soybean Research and Promotion Council.
Okay.
Yeah, so you're close.
I was close. So that's when we first started working with you, and you've been a great supporter from the beginning. And we worked on a lot of important projects together. We've been out to California doing some work out there. It's become our biggest market now. Mm-hmm. Of the 4.6 last year, 2 of it was out in California. Do you remember those trips?
I do. Yeah. Yep. It's always great to go out there and just see what a massive impact a market like that has on our industry.
Yeah, I think when we first started going out there, Adam, it was again another story where it's just a few million gallons, and now it's 2 billion. So I guess we need to take you to more markets because you're our good luck charm, I guess.
Just got that horseshoe in my pocket, Tom. So.
Well, we appreciate it. So as far as Wisconsin Soybean Marketing Board and what's going on as far as your state, we really appreciate our partnership with you. But let's talk a little bit about production in your state, the distribution, some of the users, because Wisconsin's really coming on strong in biodiesel, renewable diesel world.
Yeah, so right now we're optimistic. CHS is looking at building a new 70 million bushel a year crush plant in kind of south of Madison in Evansville, Wisconsin. It's not a done deal yet, but they're taking steps forward on that. So we're optimistic that'll obviously bring a ton of soybean processing capacity into the state. And hopefully incentivize someone to maybe set up some kind of biodiesel production there.
Oh, that'd be fantastic. I mean, Wisconsin really doesn't have soy crush capacity. I mean, maybe a couple little niche processors, but not a 70 million bushel plant. It's a gigantic plant.
Yeah, no, it's a huge investment by CHS. We're feel pretty fortunate working with their team. Trying to provide them with everything that they need. But we're really optimistic that's going to be finalized here. Hopefully a little later this year, and big things to come from that.
Well, let's hope that proceeds. I know your board members are excited. I've talked to them. It's a big development, and it just shows, kind of illustrate. It's been a 30-year investment by soybean producers from all over the country to get us to where we're at now, and that 4.6 billion demand that this industry's created for biodiesel, renewable diesel, and the feedstocks. One of the impacts of that is the increased soybean crush expansion across the United States. So we're seeing about a 30% expansion for soybean crush. And, we got, 24 projects around the Midwest to expand or build new crush plants. And it's really exciting to see. I was up there, late fall last year for your board meeting. We went in Milwaukee.
Yeah, thanks again for joining us for that. But we had the chance to go out and see the DeLong company just built a new export terminal right there on the lake in Milwaukee. So had a chance to go tour that. Seems like I think we picked about the coldest day of the year to be out there wandering around by the shore. But they have when DeLong first built that facility, I know the intention was to export DDGs, but obviously they can move DDGs, they can move soybean meal. And I know they've moved at least 2 bulk vessels of soybean meal out of there so far. I think, Tom, didn't they mention when we were there too, they have the capacity to move whole beans as well? Yeah,
they do. We don't want that. We want the meal. Let's keep up with the meal. I mean, why we're talking about meal export is because if we have the soybean crush expansion, we get the oil, which we need to feed our industry, but we got to have a place for the meal. So it's either domestic livestock or has to be exported to our customers overseas. And that's why I was so excited to join you up in Milwaukee that very, very cold day. You from there you can get to, you were telling me, to Belfast in 10 days or something like that.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yep. I think the plant manager there or the facility manager at the DeLong terminal was telling us that their first load of soybean meal went to, I believe it was Belfast.
Yeah, I remember that. And that money comes back to the Midwest or Wisconsin soybean farmers, and we get the oil to feed our plants, which we need desperately. And you're right, it was cold. I was totally wimping out that day. Your farmers are a hardy bunch. They were just looking at me laughing. I was shivering. So I don't know, was it early December, late November?
I think it was late November. It was kind of I think a little unusually cold for them, but of course you're right there on the Great Lake, so it's always have that lake effect cold.
Oh, that wind off the lake just cuts you to the bone. So but my defense, some of those farmers had electric, snowsuits. So, but anyway, so that's great. We hope we get the production there, the soybean crush expansion. We do have a little bit of production there with the Walsh Biofuels up in Mauston, I think, Wisconsin. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, Chevron REG had a really nice biodiesel plant right there north of Madison and DeForest, and they're shutting that down hopefully temporarily.
Yeah,
which is unfortunate.
Yep, you bet. Yeah, I know we had some meetings with REG. They gave us a little bit of a heads up. Probably a week or so before that was that announcement became official, but. Yeah, it sounds like just with, kind of the market factors right now, they decided it's for the best to idle it. I know they told us that they are not selling the plant. They're not going to, tear it down or anything. So hopefully when, the market looks a little more favorable, we can see that crank back up.
Well, yeah, I think a lot of that was because the renewable fuel standard, the volumes that came out for 23, 24, 25 were kind of underwhelming for the industry.
Sure.
And as that slack works itself out, I think there's an excellent chance that plant's going to come back online because the demand for biodiesel renewables is not going down. It's going up. So we think there's going to be better times ahead for that plant.
Yeah, hopefully. Just kind of the same thing too, like, circling back to the CHS plant we were talking about. obviously, there's still a huge demand going on around the country for more soybean oil. So we're confident that that's just going to kind of keep looking up for Wisconsin.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, some other, as far as on the demand side there in your state, there's some exciting things. Our friend at the city of Madison, the fleet manager, Mahant Joyce, is doing, I think, B20, 20% biodiesel across his fleet. And I think he has a couple of dozen heavy-duty vehicles running on B100 with the Optimus technology where they can use it all year round. That's exciting.
Yeah, well, that's really impressive when, you just hear about that Optimus technology in especially a state in Wisconsin where there's snow on the ground 6 months out of the year that, running a B100 or a pure B100 is feasible. It's just really impressive.
Yeah, he runs a great shop there, great fleet, and he's been very generous working with us on promoting that B100 in his fleet with other fleets around the country. And speaking of B100 fleets, our friend Adam Buchenbach at PepsiCo he's in charge of sustainability for the PepsiCo fleet, which there's 10,000 over-the-road trucks across the country. Now, he started a small B100, same thing as Mahanta with the Optimus technology there in Topeka. But I think they've expanded it now to a few other locations around the Midwest. And I believe the Beloit location there in Wisconsin's running B100 for their trucks. So we're seeing more B100 showing up in your state. These fleets are looking to do B100 because that's they've done the numbers that's the most efficient way to get carbon reductions in their fleet doing B100, and it's been real exciting.
For sure, yeah, I know we're excited about that too. Just another opportunity for Wisconsin to have a little more biodiesel utilization in the state, and oh gosh, I guess like we were talking a little earlier too. I mean, someone's got to go first on a project like this and kind of have that proof of concept that it works, and hopefully we can just keep rolling that out to a bigger and bigger audience.
Yeah, absolutely. PepsiCo is talking to other fleets how they implemented the B100 program. They're talking to truck stops about how to offer B100 at their facilities. So, I think it's going to start in states like Wisconsin, and then it will work itself out throughout the rest of the country. So we're real excited on that. There could be some partnership opportunities, as I mentioned earlier, with the Wisconsin Marketing Board. But flipping over to another opportunity for biodiesel is the marine market. Or the Great Lakes market. I don't know if they call Great Lakes Marine or not, but it's really exciting what's going on in Great Lakes with biodiesel.
Yeah, I know we've been talking to a few other states. I know Michigan is looking at some potential partnerships, trying to set up an organization, GLASS, the Great Lakes Alliance for Sustainable Shippers, just promoting exactly that, just trying to increase the use of biodiesel by some of those Great Lakes shippers. So we're excited to see how that comes together. Want to offer our help and assistance any way we can to kind of increase that market too.
Yeah, I think there's lots of opportunities there. The Canadians might be a little ahead of us on the Great Lakes, looks like. But I think it's the U.S. Is supplying most of their biodiesel, which I call that a win. The Canadian steamship line has done doing B100 in their what they're called Lakers. Those are the kind of the iconic Great Lakes ships, bulk, iron ore. And they've been running B100 in some of their ships for a couple of years with absolutely no problem. And, claiming those carbon reductions, I think we like to work with them more. And I think that's an example that we could take maybe around the other marine markets around the country.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just wonderful opportunity. I know there's some obviously different partnerships between Canada and the U.S. as far as kind of sharing and managing the St. Lawrence Seaway, and just like you said, I mean, man, what a great new opportunity if we can start having a lot of those shippers use biodiesel in a lot of their transportation needs too.
This is the Better, Cleaner, Now podcast.
I'm Tom Verry, and we're speaking with Adam Kask from the Wisconsin Soybean Marketing Board. Thanks again for joining us, Adam.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Tom. I appreciate it.
So, some fun facts about Adam, everybody. He grew up just outside the Twin Cities. Is that right?
That is, yep, just on the west side of Minneapolis, Delano, Minnesota.
And you went to school at South Dakota State University?
I did, yep, home of the Jackrabbits.
The Jackrabbits, the mighty Jackrabbits, the two-time champions. And
that's right.
D1 FSC, what did I get that right?
D1 FCS.
FCS, got close. So, that's a big deal. If you guys don't follow those, I mean, North Dakota State has dominated that for the last decade. And so you guys
we don't talk about North Dakota, Tom.
Sorry. Well, the mighty bisons were knocked off by the even mightier jackrabbits. So congratulations. And I guess growing up, you became a Packer fan somehow, but I guess you were anticipating you're going to go work for the Wisconsin Soybean Marketing Board. So
that's right. See, we've just come full circle there. So
you got a nice, good young talented quarterback that might step in the shoes of some legends there that he's following.
Yeah, knock on wood. He's looking pretty good. Hopefully he's the real deal.
Wisconsin soybean, the soybeans in Wisconsin are I think the biggest row crop you have in the state. I mean, probably trees would be the biggest, but as far as crops annual crops, probably soybeans at 2 million acres. Is that right?
I think so. Yeah, I think we're probably, if we're not the biggest, it's probably neck and neck with corn. Like coming from South Dakota, where corn and soybeans were, obviously the major cash crops in the state, and not saying they aren't in Wisconsin, but we have a lot more smaller crops, a lot of produce, vegetable crops, cranberries, things like that in Wisconsin.
Cranberries.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that. Maple syrup too, right?
Yep, you bet. So yeah, just a lot of those, a little more specialty crops kind of make up some of the difference and really add up.
So when you're at South Dakota Soybean Research and Promotion, 5 million acres over there, but I was looking at the ag stats, but only 44 bushels an acre average, and Wisconsin 51. What's going on with that?
That's amazing what happens when you catch a little more rain.
I learned from our friends in the Kansas, Nebraska, Dakotas that about eastern third of their state, they get some rain. And you go past that. I think we decided it was the 96, 97th meridian. You get west of that, the water shuts off, and it's pretty tough.
Yeah,
So I guess that might account for the difference.
Well, for sure, and I mean, gosh, a lot of those new seed varieties coming out. There's, the drought resistance is incredible. What it was, 10 years ago to what it is now. But yeah, it's, still need that water. And gosh, you get to a lot of those guys out west, if you don't have some kind of irrigation, it's, a little tougher.
Yeah, that's a good point about genetics and seed technology we have. To me, I'm a non-farmer, but I've been around soybean farmers for 30 years, and I even noticed a difference. It's like the soybeans are a tough crop. They can take a beating and still keep on ticking, as the old Watch commercial said.
For sure, yeah. Well, even, last year it was, so dry for, most of the country. It seemed like the rain shut off and just kind of late spring, and that was it. But it was honestly just amazing the yields we were able to get, under those kind of conditions.
Yeah, farmers tell me the soybeans just, when they, run out of water, they just go to sleep for a while, and then rain comes back, they wake up and just keep on chugging. Mm-hmm. So we need that. We need to grow or keep growing our feedstocks. And I think what's really exciting, Adam, I think your growers are looking at ways to not only grow more soybeans, but I know it sounds maybe a little funny, but low carbon soybeans, or what they're calling climate smart soybeans.
Yeah, yep, for sure. We're looking at some, our association is involved with some different programs, kind of looking at some of those strategies farmers can use to be more sustainable, to reduce their CI scores, cover crops, reduce tillage, things like that. What
a great story that is. American farmers responded to the market. There's a saying that we're saying we're going to need all this bean oil, we're going to get it, and a very seasoned farmer said, don't ever underestimate the ability of the American farmer to overproduce. So we're going to count on that.
Absolutely.
So who's your representative of Wisconsin Soybean Marketing to our organization?
Oh, I believe Jonathan Gibbs is.
That's right.
He is our checkoff director, who's kind of our representative for Clean Fuels Alliance America.
Yeah, where's he farm in the state?
Fox Lake, Wisconsin.
Fox Lake, Wisconsin, home of Jonathan Gibbs. Where's that in the state?
Oh, it's kind of right in the central part of the state.
Sounds like there's probably some pretty good fishing up there then.
I'm willing to bet he probably has some pretty good fishing holes.
Yeah, he comes to our member meetings. He's been with us on some of these trips. We've been to New York together, which we do take farmers to New York every December because the whole city fleet is now running on 100% combination of biodiesel, renewable diesel. And so I was with Jonathan. We were talking to Keith Kerman, their fleet manager, when they were transitioning to that. So it was great to have him there. And, he's excited about where the industry is going and very supportive. When you tie the industry where the growth is back to what's happened in their backyard there in Evansville, 70 million bushels of soybean crush. I don't know. We can do the numbers what was that, 4,000 acres a day of soybeans they're going to need to feed that plant, that crush plant.
Yeah, it's just wild. They're going to have, pretty big footprint they're going to be pulling from in Wisconsin. So that'll be, it'll really be a big shot in the arm for soybean producers in the state, definitely.
Yeah. So that, and it goes back to, okay, so where's the meal going to go? Where's the oil going to go? We'll be happy to buy the oil, but we got to have the market for the meal. So it goes back to your plant, your guys DeLong there in Milwaukee, shipping it out to Belfast and other European locations. Good stuff.
Yeah, that's just it. Coming out of the St. Lawrence Seaway there, it's just kind of a straight shot to, the European markets, North Africa, the Middle East. So we're, hoping those markets, just keep on growing, become more developed. And yeah, just a great market for our soybean meal. And one thing about Wisconsin too, here's a little trivia fact for you. I think in pretty much every soybean producing state, the main consumer of soybean meal is, hogs and poultry. In Wisconsin, with our strong dairy industry, obviously, the dairy industry is actually our biggest user of soybean meal in the state.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, a little fun fact for you there.
All right. We like that. Value-added soybeans and the milk and the cheese and the butter and all that. We love that. Good, sure. Good stuff.
Everyone loves cheese curds.
Oh, yeah. Fried cheese curds are the best.
Oh, yeah.
And, as we grow this market and increase the demand for soybean oil through our fuels, people do ask, well, are we making our food more expensive because we're using bean oil for fuel? How would you answer that, Adam?
I would say absolutely not. If anything, it might be helping decrease that price a little bit. Gosh, Tom, I think when I first went to work in this industry, I remember sitting down with you and kind of had that biodiesel, 101, and then obviously attending the NBB and now Clean Fuels meetings and different trips over the year to kind of see it for myself. It's, gosh, with the soybean oil was, always a drag on the market for years and years, and the soybean meal was kind of what we were looking for. And it's interesting now that that's flipped with this demand for, biodiesel, sustainable aviation fuel, renewable diesel, and the meal is actually the lesser valuable part of it. So, you'd almost think that, finding such a high value product to turn that oil into, it's probably helping those feedstocks coming from the meal be less expensive to the consumer.
Yeah, it has decreased the price pressure on soy meal, which is 80% of the bean, 20% is oil. And so if you're making the soy meal that goes into chickens, hogs, and dairy cheaper, you're making cheaper milk, cheaper cheese, cheaper butter, pork chops, eggs, all that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so that's a story that we can't tell enough. Because a lot of people just kind of do a quick look into our industry and say, oh, yeah, you're using food for fuel. You can't do that. It's like, well, you got to take a little broader look at it. And actually, we're making food cheaper because of the demand for biodiesel and renewable diesel. So,
yeah, that's the point I try to get across to all the time. It's just, pretty remarkable what the industry's done.
Well, I think I need to come back up there and we need some fried cheese curds.
I think I can probably find a few for you.
And maybe find some Spotted Cow. Can we find that?
There's probably one or two bottles of that too floating around for you.
Spotted Cow is I'm usually just a Miller Lite guy, but I got to tell you, the Spotted Cow, the beer, a local beer they have in southern Wisconsin is fantastic. And I told Jonathan Gibbs the other day, when I was up there, I brought back a case. And he looked at me, he goes, just one? Like, next time I'll bring a few more. But what else we got to talk about Wisconsin soybeans? It's been a lot of fun. What's the next up on your schedule? Where are you going from here?
Oh, gosh. We are bringing the board on just kind of a Midwest or a regional board trade mission here later this summer. We might head up and see DeLong's facility again. I know they're doing some work increasing their storage capacity there. Probably go down and see down in Joliet, Illinois, they have another container export yard where they do some of their identity preserved soybeans. Maybe take them around and see some of the locks and dams on the Mississippi River, just a few stops like that. So that trip will be in early August. Right ahead of that, we have our board meeting coming up the end of June, and that's when we're going to set our budget for the next fiscal year, deciding all of our proposals we've received, including a lot of great options from Clean Fuels.
Well, we thank you for the opportunity and the opportunity for your board to consider our proposals. So thank you for that. And hats off to your farmer leaders that serve on the board and all the farmer leaders that have made this, as you mentioned earlier, Adam, that this industry was started by soybean farmers back in the early 90s because they had 10-cent soybean oil. And it was killing the price for soybeans, $4 a bushel, which, I think, they called them poverty beans back then. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just nothing you could do with it. And the farmers thought, well, what about this biodiesel idea? Back in 1992, for God's sake.
Yeah, well, like you were saying earlier too, just where the market's at now versus where it was, even just a few years ago. It's just wild how quickly this has taken off.
And we don't talk about the role farmer leaders have taken from the very beginning enough. And they really did start this organization. And why is that important? What did this organization do? It was the National Soy Diesel Development Board, switched to National Biodiesel, now we're Clean Fuels. But, when you start a new fuel in the country, there's no book on how to do that. There's no instructions. And so the farmers were able to invest into the effort, into Clean Fuels, Biodiesel Board. You have to get registered by EPA. You have to do a lot of testing.
Sure.
Knew that they had to buy $900 lab rats, go through some testing. I mean, it's ridiculous. That was back in the 90s. It's probably $2,000 lab rat now if you want to do it.
Inflation got them.
You had to get the engine approvals. You had to get regulatory in place, definitions in place. So the farmers supported building out the infrastructure of this whole industry to make it possible for us. We had to get ASTM approvals, UL approvals, engine manufacturer approvals, and hats off to our tech team. Like Steve Howell and Scott Fenwick, who've been pounding the street for 20 plus years, going to these large engine manufacturers. And nobody really wanted to talk to them, but now that's totally reversed. It's like they're on calls all the time with the Cats and the Cummins and the Volvos about not doing B20, 20% biodiesel, but doing B100, 100% biodiesel. So it's been fun to see that change. What do you think?
Yeah, and I mean, kind of like we were talking a little earlier too with the Optimus technologies, starting to come online here. It's like for the engine manufacturers, I know talking to you years ago what a struggle that was at the time, but I suppose once someone goes first, then everyone else can kind of look towards that and see that it is working and see the benefits, and it's it's pretty exciting now that we really kind of changed that culture over in that side of the world.
Yeah, it really is fun. As I've been around quite a while to see the change of dynamics, and I remember Steve Howell told me a story. Steve's one of our senior tech advisor. And Scott Fenwick, our tech director, they were over in Europe, over in London, trying to get an international standard organization, ISO standard for biodiesel. And they were having a tough time of it. But they made some headway. They were at a meeting. They got B7 approved for ocean-going ships. That was 12 years ago.
Sure.
And so after that meeting, the ISO guys took them out to a pub, bought them a beer, and said, "Thanks for coming out. We don't ever want to see you again." And now they're having calls at 4 a.m., 3 a.m. in the meeting with the guys over in Europe, with the ISO European guys on how to get the B100 standard. So, you just gotta hang in there, and the farmers were the reason why we're able to hang in there and develop this industry. And so it's exciting to me to see how that's coming back as a value back to the soybean farmers, like in Wisconsin, with the 70 million bushel crush plant coming in. So,
yeah, no, it's definitely
good stuff.
Yeah, definitely exciting time to kind of be working in this field. But, just like you said, too, touching on the farmer directors, I think about that all the time. It is amazing how much work we actually ask for these guys to get done on our behalf, and considering they're all volunteers and they're still trying to run their farms back home. So it is impressive that, they're able to donate that much of their time.
It's not easy to run a farm on a good day. Just being a 30-year observer of soybean farmers, and a lot of these guys have, several thousand acres of row crop. A lot of them will have livestock operations. A lot of them will have trucking businesses on the side, or they'll do excavate. I mean, these guys are out there hustling, but somehow they find time to invest their time in organizations like us, Wisconsin Soybean Marketing Board, to provide that leadership. And right now, our governing board is an interesting mixture of, I would say, corporate guys and our farmer leaders. So the farmer leaders bring a real gift to us, because they have, their view's generational, because a lot of them are fourth, fifth, sixth generation farmers, and that's how they view their business, and that's how they want to build this industry. So hats off to them.
Yeah, definitely.
And Adam, thank you again. Thanks for joining us. Just a few days after Memorial Day, we want to say thank you for your service, and we want to thank all the active duty and the veterans out there for all their sacrifice they had to so we all can live in this great country. Thank you.
Yeah, well, you're welcome, Tom. I certainly appreciate it, and thanks again for having me on. It's been a pleasure. I hope we can do it again sometime.
Indeed. Well, thank you. And that's it for this week's episode. If you enjoy the podcast and haven't gotten around to it yet, please consider leaving us a rating. It really does help and helps the show grow, and that's how these podcasts work. And if you really want to go for it, just leave us a review. We might just read it here. You can do that wherever you get your podcasts. And if you have a question for our experts or a suggestion for a future topic or guest, you can email us at podcasts@cleanfuels.org. And join us next week for another episode of the Better, Cleaner, Now podcast.
Thanks for listening. Better, Cleaner, Now is a production of Clean Fuels Alliance America. Follow us at cleanfuels.org and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. For more information on Clean Fuels Alliance America, visit us at cleanfuels.org.